You want to know which quarterbacks and tight ends will help you win in week 10 of fantasy football? Stay tuned and find out. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to catch all the latest. We're here to help you each and every week. And let's start with the quarterback position. Chris, I'm going to let you go first, even though this is a pick that I personally have my stamp of approval on.
Yeah, you're going to love this pick. It's Tua against the Chargers. Looked really good last week. Looked pretty good in his first game against the Rams. I expect him to be even better this week. Chargers, sixth worst against quarterbacks. We talked about it, I believe, in the wide receiver video, which you should go watch. We talked about the Chargers. For whatever reason, they are involved in nothing but shootouts this year, and I expect another high-scoring game this week. I expect a great game from Tua. So if you have your quarterbacks on bye, like if you have Patrick Mahomes maybe, and you need to stream a quarterback this week, you could do a lot worse than Tua.
Absolutely. Trying to kind of suppress my excitement on this. Of course, I'm on board with Tua, but yeah, I mean, look what so far he's not turning the ball over. He's been efficient. Yeah, this is a game that could be more high scoring than people expect. I mean, but just football fantasy aside, just if you're a football fan, to watch these quarterbacks go back and forth, Herbert and Tua, it's just, I mean, what could be better? All right, but for fantasy purposes, go with a guy has not quite earned one name status. That's Jared Goff. Last we saw him, he was terrible against the Dolphins, right? Turning the ball over left and right, just looked lost. Okay, this Dolphins defense has been playing really well. He got a week to gather himself, and so he's going to bounce back strong. He doesn't really have a choice. He's playing Seattle's defense, so this is a no-brainer. You start pretty much, I would say pretty much every quarterback against Seattle. I won't say every because there are always exceptions. But yeah, Jared Goff against Seattle, you start him. I mean, I can't think probably of five quarterbacks I would start over him, except for the obvious ones, guys like Kyler Murray and Rodgers. But I mean, it's just too easy. You start a quarterback against Seattle.
Yep, totally agree. Got to start him. The only concern here is the Rams have wanted to run the ball this year, and I wouldn't put it past McVay to just try to force the running game. But chances are it's not going to work. They're going to have to abandon it. And they should just come out throwing the ball right away because that's how you attack this team. We just saw Josh Allen throw the ball relentlessly against this defense and annihilate them. I'm sure that's what Sean McVay will do with Jared Goff.
You would think so. You know, let's give him some credit. Not all his decisions are the best, but I think this one's a no-brainer. I think I could even coach this one out, throw the ball against Seattle. Okay, so let's talk about our must-sits. Which quarterback do you not like this week?
Yeah, I don't like Kirk Cousins going against the Bears. Bears tied with the Rams as the second toughest defense against quarterbacks. We know what Minnesota wants to do. They want to run the ball. I talked about it. I talked about this also in the wide receiver episode. Now, they're not going to be able to run the ball as easily as they did last week against Detroit, of course, but Chicago isn't the type of offense that's going to force Minnesota away from that to have to throw the ball. So I look at this as one of those games where Kirk Cousins is going to have like 20 attempts at the end of the day. So unless somehow he, throws for 2 or 3 touchdowns out of those 20 attempts, you're probably getting nothing from Kirk Cousins this week. Leave him on the bench or on your waiver wire.
Yeah, and just kind of looking long term, if he's a guy you've been streaming or have as a backup and you play him once in a while, honestly, from here on out, the schedule isn't good for him. There's not that many chances where you're looking and say, yeah, I should start Cousins this week. So it's a good time to kind of move away to somebody else, starting in week 10. And my must sit is Ryan Tannehill, not just because put up some paltry numbers last week, but going against the Colts, that defense is for real. They have proven it. And this is one of those divisional matchups. It's going to be tough. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points on the board. Both of them are going to try to control the game with their running backs. So I just don't see the volume. I don't see the opportunity for Tannehill. I don't really expect, the Colts to jump ahead and force the Titans to pass it either. So I just don't think it's going to be there for Tannehill. Not that he's going to play terribly, but just the chances are going to be very limited, and he's going to have a tough sledding all afternoon.
Yeah, I agree. He's going to need A.J. Brown to make a play, which is kind of what he got from him last week to kind of save his value a little bit. And you're right. This Colts defense is legit. So I agree. Can't start Tannehill.
No, definitely not. There's actually a better streaming candidates this week anyways. Last week was kind of skimpy, but this week there should be several other quarterbacks you could play over him. Now, as far as tight ends go, I'm going to give you one name that we each really like and really don't. And let's start with your must start for tight end in week 10.
Yeah, there's actually a few guys I really like here that I wrestled with. You're going to talk about one of them, but I went with Evan Engram as my must start going against the Eagles. The Eagles, they have a good secondary, but they're not very good against tight ends. And over the last couple of weeks, we've seen Evan Engram get targeted a lot more from Daniel Jones, 8 to 10 targets in those games, which is what we kind of were expecting all year and hadn't been getting. So it looks like for whatever reason, he's getting more involved. Sterling Shepard's getting more involved. Like you said, the Giants have adopted this kind of dink and dunk offense, which is good for him. And in this matchup, I expect Evan Engram to have a top 10 tight end week, which I know isn't saying a whole lot based on the tight end landscape, but he's one of the few tight ends I actually feel good about this week.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point because, Kelsey's off this week. Kittle is out the rest of the season, probably. Ertz is still out, even though he wasn't even startable anymore anyways. I mean, it's tough these days for a good tight end. And then a guy that you could probably trust from here on out, Austin Hooper has missed the last 3 weeks. I know they were offered with a bye, but also had that emergency appendectomy. He's practicing, he's back, he's starting. And with Odell Beckham out, I know you talked about this, Chris, you really like Jarvis Landry this week at the tight end position. I'm going with Austin Hooper because he, again, is going to be one of the focal points. And this Houston defense is definitely one that's pretty kind to play against. So, somebody dropped Hooper. A lot of people dropped Hooper. I had him as a waiver wire pickup because everyone just dropped him. I don't know why. He could be a top 10 tight end the rest of the season.
Oh, I think he's for sure top 10 rest of the season. I mean, look at the tight ends. You basically have Kelsey, Waller, Hawkinson, and everybody else, right? Nobody else is really a weekly gets it done every single week. So I definitely think he's top 10. He was the other guy I was going to pick as my must start. So I 100% agree with you here on everything you just said. Hooper, if he's on your waiver wire, if you're able to pick him up, start him with confidence. I think he's a top 5 tight end this week.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All right. And so we don't like these tight ends. And some of these guys, maybe we thought they could have been weekly must starts. You can throw that out the window. Who are you benching this week?
Yeah. What happened to this guy, right? It's Jonnu Smith. Looked like he was going to be one of those late round tight ends that broke out and became an every week must start. But over the last 4 games, 1 catch, 1 catch, 2 catches, 2 catches. Only 2 targets, 4 targets, 2 targets, 2 targets in those games as well. So it's not like he's getting targeted and they're just not connecting. Ryan Tannehill's not even looking his way anymore. And you talked about it. They play the Colts this week. Colts, they're great everywhere. They're the number 1 defense against tight ends. Can't start Jonnu Smith and have him go out there and get 1 catch for 6 or 7 yards, and that's it. You should be able to find a better tight end on the waivers.
Yeah, and I'll say with Jonnu Smith, I still have faith in him as far as dynasty goes. Like, I think he's a hold. He could be a key player, but yeah, as far as week to week, yeah, you just can't trust him. And then I'll just say I have never been on the Gronk rebound hype train. I just didn't think it was going to be a thing, and guess what? It's not a thing. Godwin's back. Antonio Brown is there. I think that their offense will be fine, right? Considering the debacle from last week, but there's just not enough targets. And even the times he was targeted last week, I think it was 1 out of 6 he caught. You just can't trust Gronk in this offense. You can't really trust anybody in this offense at this point, to be honest. But yeah, Gronk is going to be just too far down the ladder. So I'm out on him.
Yeah, they're even throwing to Leonard Fournette out of the backfield. There's a lot of options here. It's hard to, like you said, it's hard to really trust anybody. Hopefully one of these receivers does break out, but in the meantime, I agree. You gotta bench Gronk.
Yeah, nothing more frustrating than owning a bunch of Bucks players this season. That's for sure. All right, guys. Hopefully that helped you with some quarterback and tight end must starts and must sits. Check out running back and wide receiver if you haven't already. And of course, as I already mentioned, hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. You catch all the latest. We help you out every week with waivers, start sit, and of course, Endgame Live 2 hours before kickoff every Sunday morning. Hit us up with a comment if you have a question about anybody we didn't mention here. We definitely love to help you. Good luck in week 10, and thanks for watching.